To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.
So my dear children, in the earlier chapter we discussed several things, several ecosystems which are regarding to natural aquatic ecosystems, right? So within this chapter we'll be discussing mainly about terrestrial environments and terrestrial ecosystems. So we'll be discussing about the natural terrestrial environments that can be observed in Sri Lanka. So a vast biodiversity can be observed in natural terrestrial environments in Sri Lanka. Given below are some terrestrial environments. So in Sri Lanka, there are different natural terrestrial environments. So these different natural terrestrial environments, right, they carry out a vast biodiversity. So now within this lesson part, my dear children, we will be mainly focusing about those natural terrestrial environments which can be observed within Sri Lanka. So first of all, we'll see what are the main types of natural terrestrial environments. So when we are discussing about the natural terrestrial environments, the first and foremost thing to study is about forests. So there are several kinds of forests. First of all, we'll be focusing about tropical rainforests. So we'll be identifying what are the special factors, key factors in tropical rainforests, then importances of tropical rainforests, and where are the places which we can observe these things. Okay, so these tropical rainforests are also called as tropical lowland rainforests, wet evergreen forests. Okay, tropical lowland rainforest or wet evergreen forest. Both of these things are regarding tropical rainforest, my dear children. Then the next one, montane forests, right? Montane forest. So will be under the main montane forest, we'll be discussing, like in the previous one, special features regarding the montane forest, then where we could observe these things and what are the importances. In the third one, we'll be studying about dry mixed evergreen forest, right? Dry mixed evergreen forest. So these are the three main types of forest. Actually, this next one, thorn bushes and scrublands, those things are also somewhat related to forest, but however, I have mentioned in over here, right, as a different subunit. So after discussing about these three forests, we'll be discussing about thorn bushes and scrublands. Then, my dear children, finally about the grasslands. Okay, so these are the environments, terrestrial environments that we can observe within Sri Lanka. Okay, right then. So now let's head on to see our first and foremost type of natural environment, natural terrestrial environment. So first one is forest. Then under that you are given with the first subtopic, tropical rainforest or tropical lowland rainforest, or else wet evergreen forest. So first of all, you are given with the point, there is a warm wet climate with a rainfall throughout the year. So for these forest, my dear children, there is a warm wet climate throughout the year. Okay, throughout the year, these places or these forests receive a good wet climate and has a wet climate with good rainfall. Next one, receives over 2000 millimeters of annual rainfall. So annual rainfall is greater than, right, it's about 2000 millimeters. So over or about 2000 millimeters of rainfall is available throughout the year, within an year, for this tropical lowland rainforest or tropical rainforest, right? Then minerals are recycling. So we discuss how does the minerals are recycling when we are discussing about the previous chapters, my dear children. I think you will remember those things. Here the particles are getting cycled within the system. Okay, that is why we refer these things as recycling. It's getting cycled down, right? Then the next one, located in areas with elevation up to 900 meters. Now these forests are mainly located in areas that has the elevation up to 900 meters, right? 900 meters from the sea level up to 900 meters, we can observe these forests. Then the next one, the trees with a larger economic value such as horer, keen, mill, hull and teak are common in these forests. So these forests contain, my dear children, some trees which are economically valuable. Okay, which are economically valuable. Actually, these trees are much valuable. Okay, the wood value is very heavy in these trees. So the examples are horer, keen, mill, hull and teak. Okay, then vegetation reach about 40 meters of height and grown densely. So vegetation is going to reach about 40 meters of a height, and the density is also very high, right? Density is also very high in these forests. Then the next one given, canopy structure can be seen. Epiphytes and climbers are common on trees. Canopy structure means, my dear children, from one certain level to another certain level. There is a certain structure in forests. So the structure is the one which is referred as the canopy structure. That means heavy trees, then after that smaller trees, then even more smaller trees, then like grasslands. Okay, canopy structure. Then the other thing is that epiphytes and climbers are common on trees. Epiphyte means those are the plants which are growing on a suitable or which are growing on another support. Epiphytes. So epiphytes and climbers are plenty available in these forests. Okay, so examples given, my dear children, Singharaja, Kanneliya, Dadiyagala, Nakiyadeniya forest. So my dear children, these are the examples. Once again, let's see what are the examples. Singharaja, I think you have heard about the Singharaja forest. It is the largest forest that we have in Sri Lanka, right? Singharaja forest. That is also a type of a tropical rainforest. Then Kanneliya, Dadiyagala, Nakiyadeniya are examples for these tropical rainforest. Okay. So the key factors are once again, these are having a warm, wet climate, then receives rainfall greater than 2000 millimeters, then located in areas with elevation up to 900 meters, and minerals are getting recycled. Okay, and also we can observe plants like horer, keen, mill, hull, right? And vegetation reach up to 40 meters of height. And my dear children, canopy structure can be seen with epiphytes and climbers. Then examples are Singharaja, Kanneliya, Dadiyagala, Nakiyadeniya. Okay, important facts about tropical rainforests. Right then, so now let's head on to see what are the importance of these forests. So importance of tropical rainforest. Endemic plants and animal species are very common. Now that's the main importance, my dear children. Here we can observe mainly endemic plants and animals. Okay, endemic plants and animals are abundant in these places, in tropical rainforests. Okay, endemic plants and animals. Then can be considered as a special environment that protects the water resources of a country. So this is a catchment area, my dear children. So I told you what do you mean by a catchment area. So therefore what will happen, it is considered as a special environment that protects the water resources of a country. When you take water resources, right, like rivers, riverine environments, then lakes, streams, waterfalls. These water resources are plenty getting protected because of the tropical rainforest, right? Most of the rainforest help in generating these rains and other water resources. So therefore, it helps to maintain the water balance of a country, and also it helps to do or to protect the water resources of a country, right? So the other thing is that these things are observed, or these things are going to act as a catchment area. Okay, so I told you what do you mean by a catchment area. So within these figures you can observe these forests, my dear children, right? So as you can see, trees are going to grow at a very larger height, like up to 40 meters, I think you could remember. Okay, so it receives like about 2000 millimeters, greater than 2000 millimeters of rain. Okay, so these are the special importance of tropical rainforest. So this is the first type of environment, tropical rainforest. Okay, first type of terrestrial environment, right? Then the next one, montane forests, located in areas above 900 meters from the sea level. So these things are located above 900 meters. That is also why these things are called as montane forests, like located near to mountains, right? Annual rainfall is about 4000 millimeters. Right. Now in the earlier case it was around 2000. Now here it is about 4000. In the earlier case it was greater than 2000, like somewhat related to 2000, but however in here it is about 4000. Rainfall is even more greater than that one, my dear children. Then the next one, as there is heavy wind, the trees are stunned. They also are with twisted stems and smaller leaves. The tops of the trees have become flat. So you know that when you take a mountain, heavy winds are going to come. So therefore, these trees which located on montane forests, they have special features. What are those? Trees are stunned. They also are with twisted stems. Twisted. Okay, twisted stems, right? Then smaller leaves, they have smaller leaves. And the other thing is that the tops of the trees have become flat because of the heavy winds. Okay, so because of the heavy winds, these special features can be observed within the vegetation of a montane forest. Then the next one, plant species such as Valsapu, Veralu, then Mihiria, then Dang, Keena, and animal species such as monkeys, lories, giant squirrel, stag can be seen. So there are different kinds of plants and trees like Valsapu, Veralu, Mihiria, Dang, Keena. So these are several plant types that we can observe. Okay. Then my dear children, animal species as well, like monkeys, lories, and the giant squirrel, and also stags. Examples given, my dear children, Haggala and the upper part of knuckles, right? Upper part of knuckles. So Haggala, in Haggala we can observe montane forests, okay, and also in upper part of the knuckles. So these are the examples. So my dear children, this is the second main forest, which is montane forest. So let's find out the key points once more. So located in areas about 900 meters above the sea level. Rainfall annual is about 4000 millimeters. So due to having heavy winds, right? Due to having heavy winds, these trees have special features like they are stunned and the tops are being flat and they have smaller leaves and also with twisted stems. Then plants such as Veralu, Valsappu, Mihiriya, Dung and Keena can be observed, and also some animal species like monkeys, loris and giant squirrel and stags can be seen. So examples are upper part of the knuckles and Haggala. Okay, so these are the key points related to montane forests. Right then, now let's head on to see the next one, which is the importance of montane forest, my dear children. So what are the importance? Let's see. Endemic plant and animal species are common, right? So there are endemic plants and animals. We can observe endemic plants and animals in these areas, my dear children. Then the next one given, act as a catchment area and protects many water sources. So act as catchment areas. These things are going to act as catchment areas, and also because of that it protects many water sources, right? Next one given, it minimizes the soil erosion. As you know, these things are placed on mountains, near mountains or mountain areas. So as you can see here within this figure also, now as they have as the mountain has forest, the soil erosion is going to be reduced because of having good vegetation. Okay, so these are the examples and importance of these montane forests, my dear children. Okay, right then, so this is the second one, montane forests. Now let's head on to observe the third type of terrestrial environments, especially the third type of forest, which is the dry mixed evergreen forest, right? Dry mixed evergreen forest. So here it is given, can be seen in dry zone but not much arid. So these things are available in dry zone, however not that much arid. Okay, then annual rainfall is about 1200 millimeters to 1900 millimeters. So as you can see, the annual rainfall received by dry mixed evergreen forest, my dear children, is somewhat lesser than montane forest and also tropical rainforest, right? Actually, compared to those things, this is very less. Okay, then the next one, May to September is a long drought season. So May to September period is a long drought season. Okay, this season is a long drought season for these dry mixed evergreen forests. Then next one given, evergreen and deciduous plants are present. Okay, evergreen and deciduous plants are present. Then you are given with examples, Wasgamu, Yala and Vilpattu, right? I think you have heard about the Vilpattu and Yala and also Wasgamu too. So Yala, Vilpattu are somewhat, like tourist attractive places. Even we have heard these things several times, and sometimes even you might have been went there for trips and field trips. Okay, so these Yala and Vilpattu are considered as dry mixed evergreen forest, my dear children. So as you can see, these are the figures of monsoon forest or dry mixed evergreen forests. Right, next one, importance of dry mixed evergreen forest. So let's see, a lot of economically valuable plants. So here lot of economically valuable plants are present. So let's see what are those examples then. Palu, right? Palu. Then my dear children, Buruta, Veera, Kong, Ebony, then Vela, colon Kalumediriya, Halmilla, and neem. So these are the types of plants and trees that we can observe within these places, like in dry mixed evergreen forest. So there are so much plants with so much varieties. These things are very valuable. These things are showing very valuable to our economy. And when we are making different kinds of like furnitures and also other constructions related to wood, we use these things. So these things are very valuable. They show very valuable. They show very value when compared to economy. Okay. Then the next one, my dear children, given also animals such as deer, monkeys, leopards, bears, giant squirrel, and elephants can be seen in these forests. So not only those plant species, my dear children, we can observe different kinds of, right? So we can observe different kinds of animals as well, like deer, monkey, leopard, bear, and giant squirrel, and also elephants. So these are the main types of organisms that we can observe within a dry mixed evergreen forest. Other than that, my dear children, it acts as a catchment area for reservoirs in the dry zone. So these things are observed within the dry zone mainly. So therefore, within the dry zone, my dear children, these areas are going to act as catchment areas. Okay. So because of that, reservoirs are getting protected and reservoirs are getting saved because of the dry mixed evergreen forest which are located in dry zones. Okay. Right then. So this is the third type of forest. So my dear children, we have discussed all the things related to the third, which is the dry mixed evergreen forests, right? This is the third type of forest that we can observe. Now let's head on to observe the next type of natural terrestrial environments. So the next type is thorn bushes and scrublands. So my dear children, we can observe the special features like this. So first of all, it is given annual rainfall is over 1250 millimeters and temperature is high over 34 degrees of Celsius. So as you can see, the rainfall is about 1250 and the temperature is high over 34 degrees of Celsius. Okay. So it has very high temperature plus it has a high amount of, right? It has a high amount of rainfall as well. Okay. Then the next one, considered as semi-arid areas, there are many adaptations in trees to withstand the arid environmental conditions. So to get these things are like semi-arid areas, my dear children. So these things contain different kinds of adaptations, especially these plants available in these areas have different kinds of adaptations in order to withstand the heavy temperature, right? So some of the adaptations are having smaller leaves, fleshy leaves, ability to store water in the stem, and thorny bushes, right? So compared to the other types of forests, you can see that even though it receives the 1250 millimeters of rainfall, right? Actually, these things are having somewhat, compared to the other ones, these things are having somewhat lesser rainfall, right? Not that much high. Actually, it is high, but however, compared to the other ones, that's not that much high, right? So therefore, in order to withstand the heavy temperatures, these plants are showing different kinds of adaptations, okay? Like having smaller leaves, fleshy leaves, and also these leaves have the ability to store water. Okay. Then it is given Navahandi cactus, Daluk, Kaneru, Ereminia, Andara, Alloy are some of the trees that can be seen in this forest. So within this forest, my dear children, we can observe these plants. Okay, as you can see, all of these plants, when you consider all of these plants are somewhat showing special kinds of adaptations to minimize the transpiration, right? I think you have learned about these things in grade 8, right? So as these are showing these adaptations, these plants are the ones which are more suitable to grow in semi-arid environments. Okay, that's why these plants are plenty available in these thorn bushes and scrublands. Then, my dear children, examples given. Hambantota district. In Hambantota district, we can observe these. Then in Kilinochchi district and Puttalam district also, we can observe these scrublands and thorn bushes. So this is the next type of natural terrestrial environment, right, which is the thorn bushes and scrublands. Right then, so as you can see, this is the third, and this is the third one, or the third type of forest. Actually, this is also can be considered as a type of forest, but however, apart from those things, now in order to be a forest, now in our sense, we should have to be very much larger, having plenty of vegetation and so on. No? So these are like bushes kind of a forest. That's why I have included it as a separate topic. Okay, right then. So now let's head on to see the next one. Next one is the grasslands. Okay, grasslands. So there are different types of grasslands, my dear children. There are different types of grasslands. Okay. So in Sri Lanka, we can observe these different types of grasslands. So we'll be observing, or we'll be discussing about all of these grasslands which can be observed in Sri Lanka. So let's see what are those things then. So first of all, it is given wet pathana, right? Wet pathana. Grasslands under that first one is given wet pathana. Located in areas over 2000 meters altitude. There is heavy rainfall in these areas. So located in areas over 2000 meters altitude. So wet pathana located in areas with a greater altitude. Okay. Then the other thing is that there is a heavy rainfall in these areas. So within these areas there is heavy rainfall. Next one given. Normally located near forest. These things are normally located near forests. Then in addition to grass, there are also trees grown alone. Maharatmal plant is prominent among them. So with the grassy lands, my dear children, we can observe plants. Okay, plants and trees also. Maharatmal is a prominent plant that can be observed within these wet pathana grasslands. Okay. So then here it is given. So my dear children, here it is given once more. So wet pathana regions or wet pathana grasslands, we discussed that these things are located at a higher altitude, like up to 2000 meters. So let's see the second one. Normally located near forest. So these things are normally located near forest. And the other thing is that addition to the grass, there are some trees as well. So addition to the grass, as you can see here within the figure, addition to those grass, you can observe trees as well. So what are the trees? Here it is given Maharatmal plant. Maharatmal plant is a prominent among them. So Maharatmal plant is prominent plant that is going to grow with the grasslands over here. Okay, so this grassland is wet pathana, remember. Usnea lichens grow on these trees. So there is a type of lichen which is called as Usnea, and Usnea lichen is growing on these trees. Okay, lichen is a type of actually it is a colony of microorganisms, combination of microorganisms, fungi and algae both, right? Then the fern Pteridium also can be seen in these grasslands. So other than these grass and Maharatmal plant, we can also observe fern-like structures called Pteridium. Okay, fern structures of fern plant Pteridium. Then, my dear children, examples given: Horton Plains, Bopattalawa, then Bhagavantalawa. These are the examples where we can observe those wet Patana regions, wet Patana grasslands. Right. Then the next one, the next type, dry Patana. So earlier we discussed about wet Patana, now it's time to discuss about dry Patana. So widely spread than wet Patana. So it is spreaded widely than wet Patana. Okay. The grass Mana is very common. So there is a type of grass which is called as Mana. Mana is very common in these dry Patana regions, dry Patana grasslands. Apart from small forest in the valley and hills, other areas are covered with grass only. So apart from small forest in the valley and hills, other areas are covered with grass only. Usually grass is burnt during the drought season. Soil gets eroded during the rainy season. So usually, my dear children, what has happened? What is going to happen is, during the drought season, the grass is going to burn, right? Because of the heavy temperature. And also, soil is going to erode during the rainy seasons, my dear children. Okay. So what are the examples? Rakwana area and Nuwa Basin are some examples for these dry Patana regions. Okay, dry Patana regions. Then we'll head on to see the next type of grassland, which is the Damana. Right, Damana. It is a type of grassland in the abundant Chena cultivation. Right. So abandoned Chena cultivation, when from Chena cultivation, if after abandoning Chena cultivation, we can observe the Damana grasslands. Okay, specialty here is that, my dear children, these grasslands, Damana grasslands, can be observed in the areas of low country dry zone. Okay, in the areas low country dry zone. So after abandoning Chena cultivation in the areas of low country dry zone, what will happen is, those areas will convert into Damana grasslands. Okay. Next one given, grasses such as Mana, Iluk, Butter, and trees such as wood apple, Palu, Maila, Madang are common in these areas. So once again, let's see what are the plants, my dear children. So first of all, grasses such as Mana, Iluk, Butter can be seen. Okay. Then, my dear children, special trees like wood apple, Palu, Maila, and Madang can be observed. Okay. Next point given, this is most preferred area of the elephants. So elephants are very like to behave, or very like to really like to be seen in these areas. Okay, very likely to be observed within these areas, within the Damana regions, my dear children. So what are the examples? Vilpattu, Maduroya, Velikanda. These are the examples where we can observe Damana grasslands. Okay, right then. The next one, Talava. Type of grassland formed as a result of Chena cultivation in low country wet zone. Now in the earlier where we discussed about the Damana regions, these are abandoned Chena cultivation areas in the low country dry zone. See, low country dry zone. However, my dear children, Talava can be observed. Talava grasslands can be observed because of abandoning Chena cultivation in low country wet zone. Low country wet zone. So these are located in Kalutara district and Haldummula and also in Matara district. Okay. So my dear children, these are the special types of natural terrestrial environments. So we discussed about forests, right? Then we discussed about thorn bushes and scrublands. Then we discussed about grasslands, my dear children. Okay, so these are the main types of natural terrestrial environments. Okay, natural terrestrial environments. Right then, my dear children, now we have studied all the ecosystems related to natural environments. Okay, right then. So let's see what are the other contents in the lesson. So you are given with a Sri Lankan map here. Following is a map that depicts the natural ecosystems in Sri Lanka. Study the map well and identify the ecosystems and their locations. So when you study the map, my dear children, you can see that Sri Lanka has plenty of vegetation, right? Sri Lanka has plenty of vegetation over here. So tropical thorn forest, right? Like in this dark color green, tropical thorn forest, dry evergreen forest, see these areas, and also here wet deciduous forest, then wet semi-evergreen forest, semi-evergreen rainforest. Like that way there are several kinds of forests, and also finally area without forest and also mangrove forest. Okay, so as you can see, Sri Lanka has a very vast, rich biodiversity among the forest and also from plants and other types of trees, and also from grasslands as well. So it's very important to study this map, my dear children, so that we can get idea about these natural terrestrial environments. Okay, right. So I hope that you will study the map very well to identify the places that has forest and other kinds of grasslands and other kinds of terrestrial environments, right? Okay then, so these are, my dear children, natural terrestrial environments. Now let's head on to see the next topic. Now here we are going to discuss about man-made ecosystems in Sri Lanka. Okay, man-made ecosystems in Sri Lanka. So when we are focusing about man-made ecosystems, the three main man-made ecosystems are, here you are given, man-made ecosystems in Sri Lanka can be categorized into three groups. So the three main groups are agricultural environments, industrial environments, settlement environments. Okay, so agricultural environments, the name itself, by checking down the name you can see that these things are agricultural. So we, for agricultural purposes, we have created several environments. So those things are agricultural environments, like in the figure over here. Then, my dear children, over here you can observe a factory. So these factories which use machines, then people, then different kinds of other organisms, right? And also some raw materials like cloth and so on. So all of these things creates an industrial environment. Okay, so in a factory we can observe an industrial environment. Then settlement environments is the final one. Housing schemes, habitats that we use to live our lives. So these housing schemes and habitats, our houses, are considered as what? these things are the settlement environments. Okay, villages, towns, right, housing schemes, those things are settlement environments. Those things are also created by humans, right? So these are man-made environments. So now let's head on to see the first and foremost type of man-made environment, that is the agricultural land. So agricultural environments. An ecosystem designed for cultivation of crops and animal husbandry to meet the food requirement is called an agricultural environment. So it's very simple to get to meet the food requirement of people, right? People would create these agricultural environments. So mainly we do farming over here. We do farming of animals or else plants, right? So animals such as hens, cows, goats, and so on, and also plants like, you know, different kinds of vegetables and paddy especially. Okay, next one, occasions where humans have taken into their control of certain plants and animals that were distributed in natural environment are found in agricultural environments. Occasions where humans have taken into their control of certain plants and animals that were distributed in natural environments, okay, are found in agricultural environments. That means, my dear children, within these agricultural environments, right, we use the plants and animals which are being dominated by the people, or which are being heavily used by the people or our kind, humans, right? So here specialty is that these species, we control these species according to our need. Okay, so here the specialty is that we have taken into control. Okay, we have taken these things into our control. So most of the times we use these things in our agricultural land. It can be either animal or else a plant. Okay, next one given, for the cultivation of paddy, tea, vegetables, particular land preparation should be carried out. Also, lands must be allocated for animals husbandry. In this case, when the grasslands are regularly grazed, the plants do not exist. Hence, the biodiversity is limited. Now, the other thing is that in order to grow these things, vegetables and other things, my dear children, we have to clean out, right? We have to clean out the certain environment, right? Certain or the particular environment should be cleaned very well. In that case, my dear children, only limited number of plants and other organisms could be observed here within these places or within these environments. So therefore, the specialty here is that the biodiversity is somewhat limited, my dear children. There is no vast varieties of organisms who are living in these environments. Okay, so therefore the biodiversity, okay, the biodiversity is very limited in these agricultural lands. Right, then you are given with another assignment. Then compare and tabulate the differences between natural environment and an agricultural environment. So you have to compare the differences between natural environment and an agricultural environment. So my dear children, these assignments should be followed by you. It's very important to follow up with these assignments and do these things. Okay, by that way only you will be able to get some knowledge about these things. So these assignments are very helpful to replenish your knowledge. Okay, so when I'm doing these assignments, I will be not giving several things. Okay, how you should have to follow up and find out those extra bit of knowledge. Okay, but however, within here also I'll provide few examples. So now we need to differentiate natural terrestrial environment with an agricultural environment. Okay, so let's see what are the differences between natural environment and an agricultural environment. So like I said in the previous slide, can you remember we discussed that the biodiversity is limited right? Biodiversity is limited in a agricultural environment. But however, vast diversity can be observed in a natural terrestrial environment. No matter the place, grassland, forest or any other, right? It can be aquatic or anything, right? No matter the environment, if it is a natural terrestrial environment, then my dear children, we can observe a vast diversity. However, in an agricultural environment, it is limited. Okay, it is limited. Biodiversity is limited. Then my dear children, most of the times in agricultural environments, we can observe plants and animals which humans can control, right? Which humans can control. However, in natural terrestrial environments, we can't observe. We can observe some types of animals which we can control, but however, most of the animals that are found in those environments are animals or types of organisms which cannot be controlled by humans. Okay, so that is another difference. So I have told you two differences, my dear children. So it's up to you to find out other differences. I'm just going to guide you in this process. So I have mentioned two differences. Let's remind once more. Biodiversity is limited in agricultural lands. However, biodiversity is rich in natural terrestrial environments. The other thing is, most of the plants and animals are human controllable animals and plants in natural in agricultural environments. Okay, but however, in natural environments or natural terrestrial environments, the most of the animals which are living cannot be controlled by humans. Okay, cannot be controlled by humans. So I have mentioned two. Now it's your job to find out the other details. Okay, right then. So I hope that you will follow up the assignment and do these things at your home. Right then. Now let's head on to see the other special man-made ecosystem, which is the industrial environments. An ecosystem that has been built up by machines, raw materials, and energy resources required for a product is called an industrial environment. Okay, so within this industrial environment, my dear children, we use energy sources. Okay, we use raw materials, then we use different kinds of machines, and also there are people too, right? So a ecosystem that has been built up by machines, raw materials, and energy sources required for a product is called an industrial environment. This is an industrial environment. When a community is being developed, many productions, right? When a community is being developed, many productions like food, medicine, clothes, furniture, electrical equipment, then sanitary materials, all of these things can be observed, right? By many industries, for the these things are produced by many industries for the betterment of living conditions. So for the betterment of living conditions, in order to produce a healthy, good, and an efficient living conditions, what will happen? These companies and these industries will produce different kinds of products in order to provide a good health and all the other factors which are necessary for the human lives. Okay, even though these industrial products are useful to human, they also have adverse effects. Now the other thing is, my dear children, even though these things are providing good and a sound life to the human beings, there are several adverse effects, right? There are several adverse effects, right? These adverse effects are actually going to happen to the environment. These things are going to happen to the environment. So indirectly, we also face the adverse effects of those effects. Okay, now let's head on to see what are those things. First one given, my dear children, heavy noise in the industrial environment. So industrial environments, heavy noise is going to emit. That's why normally industrial environments are made somewhat away from habitats, okay, human settlements. Next one, releasing poisonous gases and smokes. So this is a very common problem when you come into industrial environments due to emission of different kinds of smokes and gases, right? You know that, like carbon dioxide gas and sulfur dioxide, and there are like other different types of gas. Different kinds of environmental related problems are going to occur, like ozone layer depletion, emission of greenhouse gases, global warming, and so on. Okay, so that is also a main environmental problem related with industrial environments. Next one given, release of excessive heat and contamination of water bodies. So release of excessive heat and contamination of water bodies. So sometimes, because when operating these machines, my dear children, because of burning fuel or any other kind of energy sources, right, when operating any other kinds of energy sources, large amount of heat may emit. Okay, so that is also an adverse effect. And the other thing is that upon releasing different kinds of chemicals and substances and waste materials to the water bodies, there is a heavy issue which is going to arise, that is the water pollution. Okay, water bodies are going to pollute because of these things. Water bodies are going to pollute because of these things, right? Because of the garbage released by the industrial environments mainly. Next one, harmful chemicals are released to the environment. So we discussed that thing over there with garbage thing. Also chemicals can release to the environment. These release of chemicals may create different kinds of complications, right? Even these would affect the genes of organisms, right? These chemicals would affect the genes of organisms, and the genes will also get mutated. Okay, like that way there are different kinds of adverse effects, my dear children. Okay, so these are the things, or these are the adverse effects, right? These are the adverse effects caused because of these industrial environments. Even though these things are getting even though these things are producing different kinds of goods, right, which are valuable to us, there are certain adverse effects as well. Okay, right then my dear children, the last and the final man-made ecosystem, this is the settlement environments, habitats of human beings, right? So it is given, a rural or urban environment where man has established his habitat is known as a settlement environment. So settlement environment means, my dear children, it can be a rural area or else a urban area, right? That means a village or else a town. Okay, so villages and towns which the humans have been prepared, or which the humans have created in order to live on their life, can be simply called as a settlement area. Okay, migration to cities on a variety of needs and urbanization in cities have resulted more urban settlements. So nowadays, my dear children, upon migration to cities, why do people migrate to cities? Because, my dear children, now in the cities there's plenty of technology, right? There is plenty of facilities when you compared with the rural area. So therefore, most of the people, they would love to migrate towards a city, right, rather than living on a rural area like a village, because of the advanced technology and the facilities that they would have. Okay, so because of that, what will happen? Urbanization is going to occur, right? Urbanization. And also, my dear children, more urban settlements can be observed rather than rural settlements. Okay, next one, many problems have arisen due to improper human settlements. Now the other thing is that due to having these improper settlements, due to coming to the urban areas from rural areas, okay, from rural areas, due to coming to these urban areas, Okay, mainly these people who are coming, those people are going to create improper settlements. Okay, so because of settling improperly within an environment, different kinds of conditions and different kinds of complications may occur, right? So these complications would definitely harm the environment, okay, or the ecosystems, and it will definitely imbalance the ecosystem that we are living on. So let's see what are those. Number one given, reduce the space. So the problems arisen due to improper human settlements. Under that, first and foremost thing which is given here, the reducing or the reduction of space. Space is getting reduced. Less space can be observed or can be obtained when several people are going to come and settle on a certain limited space. Okay, then the next one, not enough light. Light is also not there, right? Not enough light, right? Then the next one given, less ventilation. The other thing is that we won't be able to get fresh air. Ventilation is going to be very less, right? Now when you go to a certain city, because of having large amount of vehicles and other kinds of machines, even we won't be able to get a fresh breath, right? Fresh oxygen is not there within a city. It's mainly because of the machines and the vehicles which are running here and there in our roads. Okay, so ventilation is going to be very less. Next one given, diseases become epidemic situation. So the other thing is that when a disease would come, it would spread heavily within a certain environment, right? Because of the overpopulated regions. Next one given, insufficient sanitary facilities. That is also going to be a heavy problem, right? There are no any sanitary facilities. Sanitary facilities are going to be very less if the number of people is going to increase in a certain area. Okay, that would create big problems, especially for the water bodies. Water bodies and other environments will get polluted because of the waste materials, collection of waste materials, especially fecal materials and other excretory substances. Next one given, difficulty in removing household garbage. That is also a heavy problem, right? So there is no way to release these household garbage, right? And there is no way to recycle, as there are plenty of people living in a certain region. The amount of waste materials removed by those people or the garbage removed by the people is also going to be increased. So when you take a certain area, a certain city, this certain city will not have the necessary equipments and also necessary places to remove these waste. So in that case, my dear children, what will happen? Piles of garbage will definitely occur within cities. Okay, next one, damages from emergency fires. So it's very simple. By just reading out it, you can get the idea. Damages are going to occur, or serious damages may occur because of emergency fires. Next one, flooding. Over here, the flooding is mainly going to occur because of blocking of drainage systems, right? Because due to blocking of drainage systems, instantaneous floods will occur, right? So that's the main reason. For having floods in urban areas, especially because of blocking of drainage systems, my dear children. Okay, in rural areas, normally floods will come because of the river water or else water which is overflown from streams and other water sources. But however, in urban areas, most of the times it's because of blocking of drainage systems. Okay, so when increasing the number of people who are living in a certain area due to lack of space, drains will get blocked, and because of that, flood conditions may occur. Okay, next one given, cultural and social issues, right? Cultural issues and also social issues may arise because of overpopulation. So these are the unfavorable conditions that may arise due to urbanization or moving into or migration into certain types of cities, right? I hope that you got the idea about these things, my dear children. So with that part, my dear children, we have discussed all the man-made ecosystems, right? All the things related to the man-made ecosystems. Right then, you are given with another assignment. Man-made environments should be set up to ensure the optimum utilization so as to minimize the damage to the natural environment. List the strategies you propose. So when we are planning, okay, when we are going to establish a man-made ecosystem like an industry or else a human settlement or else an agricultural land, so when we are implementing these things, when we are establishing these things, it's important to keep the balance in our environment. Okay? And also the other thing is that we should have the ability to utilize these things up to its maximum potential. Right? That's the other case. Sometimes, my dear children, these things, especially agricultural lands, some people will start these things. When some time is going to pass by, definitely they will abandon these things. Okay, so it's not good for the environment because we destroy plenty of trees and plants and organisms within a certain environment to create an agricultural land. Okay, so my dear children, the biodiversity is getting harmed at that occasion. So we should have to get a good utilization of the resources that we have. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to provide a suggestion. Provide what? You have to provide what? Strategies in order to get maximum utilization or the optimum utilization of these natural environments, right? And also the other thing is that we have to stop the damage which is going to happen to the natural environments. Okay, you have to stop the damage also, right? So we have to protect the natural environment, and also we have to use the particular industrial or whatever the man-made one up to its maximum potential. That's the case. So tell me some, or you have to write down some examples for those strategies which we can use. Okay, so I hope that you will do this thing. You will find out these things at home, right? I'll give you just 2 strategies. Number 1, my dear children, before we are going to start an agricultural land, it is very important to choose a land that has less number of or less amount of biodiversity, right? That means it's better to use an abandoned area which was used earlier, right? Another one, when watering these agricultural lands, okay, when watering these agricultural lands or when using fertilizer, we can always use organic fertilizer in these cases. Okay, organic fertilizer. So using organic fertilizer is also another good strategy to minimize the environmental pollution, right? So like that way, there are several strategies, my dear children. So I told you only for the agricultural lands. You try to find out these things, what are the strategies that can be applied to have a better utilization for industrial lands and also for the human settlements as well. Okay, right then. So I hope that you will follow up the assignment and do it at your home. Okay, so with that part, my dear children, we have came to the end of our lesson. So now it's time to memorize the summary. So my dear children, first of all, we discussed that combination of plants, animals, microorganisms, genetic materials of all these living organisms and the ecosystems is known as the biodiversity. right? Biodiversity. So biodiversity means, my dear children, the differences between each and every component that can be observed within a certain ecosystem. Even the ecosystem diversity is also biodiversity, belongs to biodiversity, right? There are various threats to biodiversity. These threats have led to deterioration in biodiversity. So my dear children, there are different kinds of threats. We discussed that there are natural threats and as well as human activities. Because of these threats, biodiversity has reduced or deteriorated. Okay. Next one, the living organisms as well as non-living components in an ecosystem often interact with each other. These interactions are living-living, living non-living, and non-living non-living. So the next one, my dear children, there are different kinds of, right? There are different kinds of interactions, relationships that's going to occur between components in an ecosystem. Okay, those interactions can be categorized as living-living, living non-living, non-living non-living. Okay. Then the next one, freshwater environments, marine environments, and brackish water environments are the natural aquatic environments that can be seen in Sri Lanka. Rivers, estuaries, lagoons, riverine environments, man-made inland water bodies, and oceans belong to these environments. So my dear children, we discussed about the ecosystem diversity. Under the ecosystem diversity, we discussed several ecosystems and environments that can be observed in Sri Lanka. Okay, so we divided these ecosystems into two main categories as aquatic ecosystems and terrestrial ecosystems or environments. So in Sri Lanka, we can observe marine environments and as well as freshwater environments and also brackish water environments. So we discussed about rivers, estuaries, lagoons, riverine environments, and also man-made inland water bodies and also oceans, right? So these are the ones which we discussed under the natural aquatic environments which are located in Sri Lanka. Then my dear children, we discussed about the natural terrestrial environments about Sri Lanka or in Sri Lanka, and we have categorized those things into forest and grasslands. Okay. There are 4 types of forest in Sri Lanka. They are tropical rainforest, montane forest, tropical dry mixed evergreen forest, and tropical thorn forest. Okay. So these are the 4 main types of forest in Sri Lanka. Wet patana, dry patana, damana, talava are the types of grasslands in Sri Lanka. Okay. Wet and dry patana, damana and talava. Okay. Grasslands. The man-made ecosystems are agricultural environments, industrial environments, and settlement environments. And also there are man-made environments, my dear children. We discussed finally about those things. Man-made environments can be categorized into the 3 main groups as settlements, industrial environments, and agricultural environments. Then finally we studied that it is our responsibility to protect the biodiversity. Actually, we have studied in each and every places. It's very important to protect the biodiversity. Okay, as biodiversity is very important to us also, right? It's going to provide several benefits to the earth or our biosphere. Right then, so this is the summary, my dear children. Okay, right, my dear children. So we discussed all the things, all the theoretical parts related to the lesson biodiversity, and finally we discussed about the summary as well. Okay, so with that thing, I'm going to finish up this lesson part, my dear children, right? This chapter. So within our next chapter, we'll discuss questions related to the biodiversity lesson.
To watch these important lessons, subscribe to DP Education's YouTube channel right now. Click on the bell icon to stay updated on the latest lessons. Sri Lanka's largest free online school, DP Education.